Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are you under constant stress and don't know why? Do you have a constant, endless list of things to do and never get them done? Whether you experience childhood trauma, trauma as an adult, or you're experiencing trauma at this very moment, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is an end in sight. My goal is to help you find the switch. Hello, welcome to Trauma Informed, the weekly podcast exploring the impact of trauma on our bodies and nervous systems. I'm your host, Russ. I am a trauma-informed somatic life coach and founder of Mind, Body, Spirit, LLC. This week when I was kind of perusing through things and trying to decide what I was going to do as a topic, I had a different topic in mind for this week, but this question came up on another podcast about trauma and who has experienced trauma and who hasn't, big T, little t, that sort of thing. So today we're going to dive into the core of trauma, what it is, how it affects us, and why it can get stuck in our systems. Imagine that you're on a hike. You're walking down a trail and a bobcat jumps out in front of you. A wild mountain lion jumps out in front of you. When you think about that, look back at your body for a second and ask yourself, be curious about what's happening somatically in your body. What are you feeling? You feel tightness in your chest or sinking in your stomach? Does your stomach kind of twist a little bit? Do you feel tightness in your jaw? Are your shoulders raised up towards your ears to hide your neck? These are all experiences that we have somatically that indicate that we've been through a traumatic event. Your brain is constantly scanning for either safety or danger, one or the other. There's only one of two states that it can be in, danger or safety. So you're standing there or walking down this trail and you feel safe. You feel present. You're in the moment. You can smell the trees. You can feel the breeze. You can hear the birds chirping. You can hear what sounds like a squirrel off to the side. And then as you're walking, you come face to face with this wild, dangerous animal. So even though you're connected at that very moment with the present and you're here and you're experiencing it for what it is, your brain is still constantly scanning for danger. So when it sees that cat, it thinks danger. So it goes whoop, pulls you out of that prefrontal cortex and into the limbic system of your brain, starts releasing chemicals and hormones into your blood that get the autonomic nervous system going, knowing that there is a danger present and that it needs to protect itself. And it goes into one of two states. Actually, it goes into one. And then if it's still not correct, it goes into the third. First of which is fight or flight. It goes into fight or flight mode and it releases these chemicals to amp your body up and releases all this energy for you to fight this animal or run away from this animal. So then you either pick up a stick and throw it at the cat and get it to run away, or you run away yourself. By the way, living in Colorado, we may know this, you may not. If you come across a mountain lion, don't run away. Back up slowly, but don't run away. Anyway, I digress. So you can either use that energy to fight or flee. Use that energy to get away from the threat or to fight it off. So let's say you try fighting off this animal and it just pisses him off and he's coming at you even worse. And he's got you backed up against a tree and there's nowhere to go. You may go into freeze or fawn. Freeze or fawn, you might try to lay down, get into the fetal position, cover the vital parts of your body, like your neck, your face, your organs, your chest, stomach, things like that. That would be a freeze mode. Well, you survive the event. Now, whether you survive it unscathed or you take a couple bites from this animal, you survive somehow. You come out the other end alive. So now your brain knows that what you did in that very second saved your life. What you did kept you alive because you're still alive. So that's the only option, right? What you've just experienced is trauma. The event itself, although you could certainly describe as traumatic, is not the trauma. The trauma is the overloading of your autonomic nervous system. The trauma is what happens inside your body. It's not the triggering event. The triggering event is just that. It triggers trauma within your body. So you have complete control over trauma. It doesn't control you. It's a pretty nice way to look at it, isn't it? So in that moment, when you have survived the attack, your body and your brain takes a Polaroid. Click, takes a little snapshot of exactly the way you feel in this moment. Because the way you feel will drive your behavior. The way you feel, the energy that surged in your body to fight him off, and the freeze state that your body went into that pulled you inward, that had you cover your neck and stomach, whatever you did, it saved your life as far as your brain is concerned. So it takes a snapshot of this and it stores it away. Now, let's say you're watching TV a couple weeks later and you see a picture of a bobcat or a mountain lion on TV, and you suddenly get a twisting feeling in your stomach, and you feel sick and you feel nauseous, and that is a reaction to that trauma. Your body takes a snapshot of it. When you're triggered again, it thinks, oh no, danger. So it releases the same hormones and does the same thing that it did to save your life when it experienced that before. Now, if you're a child and you touch a hot stove and then you learn that that's hot, right? It's the same concept. If you're a child and you touch that hot stove, your body goes into a trauma response from the pain, and then it stores that information away for the next time that you go to touch that stove. The next time that you go to touch that stove, your brain goes, whoop, danger, and releases the same chemicals, gives you the same somatic response. It reminds you of that danger so that you don't get hurt again. Now, if you're walking down a trail and there's wild animals, or you're touching hot stoves or doing something dangerous, and your body reminds you of that with a somatic experience, and then you recognize the danger and avoid it, your brain has done its job perfectly. This is your brain protecting you, and it's using trauma to do that. This is a way for trauma to be useful. This is a way for trauma to be positive. This is a way for trauma to legitimately keep you safe. And the empowering part is you have complete control over your trauma response and the way that you store that information and the way that you process that information and those triggers when they come up again. That's the cool part. So really, when you think about it in that from that perspective, and you boil trauma and response down to what's happening, actually happening physically in your body, it makes it a lot easier to understand, but it also empowers you and gives you the ability to work through it and heal from it. When you realize that everyone has experienced trauma, everyone has developed limiting beliefs because of that trauma, and everyone's behavior is driven somatically from their body as a result of some of those stuck traumas. Whether you had a wonderful childhood and a peaceful adulthood, you still will have trauma, and it will still be stuck, and it will still be controlling behaviors. People with severely stuck trauma will start experiencing things like inflammation. When I was 19 years old, I think, in the military, I started having pain in my lower back. I did an MRI, and at 19 years old, I had 2 ruptured discs and several bulging discs, degenerative disc disease. It's not necessarily a hereditary thing, but when you start looking at it from a trauma-informed perspective, my body was reacting to stuck trauma. My body was reacting to the inflammation in my body that had my spine constantly compressed and that muscle pulling itself in. These are all trauma responses that get stuck and it can cause major issues for you down the road. Now, if I had known at 19 what I knew now, I could have avoided major permanent damage to my spine, but I wasn't. I didn't know those things. So I continued on taking muscle relaxers and getting massages and going to the chiropractor and going to the doctor and getting injections in my spine and all these different things that I did to try to treat the symptom. And now, as a 46-year-old, my spine and my back is in much better condition than it was when I was 19. And that's all happened over the course of the last 2 years. But it makes total sense, right? Basically, I had been operating from a fight or flight or freeze mode my entire life. My traumas began at 3 days old. And I spent the next 44 years dealing with the repercussions. Those repercussions were both physical and dramatically psychological and emotional. I was drawn to toxic relationship after toxic relationship after toxic relationship, trying to repair the damage that my father did for the first 12 years of my life. It doesn't take an abusive, psychopathic father to experience childhood trauma. Your trauma could be much more subtle and just as damaging. So, what do? You can heal from it. You can start recognizing those somatic experiences for what they are. They are cues to let you know that you're being triggered, and they're meant to keep you safe. And when you start looking at it from that perspective, you can look at these responses with a little bit more compassion, realizing that they're here to keep you safe. They're here to keep you alive. So if you're experiencing stuck traumas or you're experiencing somatic experiences that are limiting your ability to get things done or live the most happy, fulfilling life that you possibly can, contact somebody for help. It is worth it. It is not worth spending the remainder of your life in pain, whether that's psychological pain or physical pain. It sucks. And you can live a much more fulfilling life. You can be happy. You can be healthy. You are enough. You are lovable. Keep that in mind. Thanks for joining me so much. It was a pleasure to get this information out to you. Hopefully some of this resonated with you and hopefully some of it makes it a little bit more possible to understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. If you are experiencing some of the things that I talked about in this podcast and you would like some more insight on how to move forward through some of these things and how to grow and become the best possible version of yourself, we are putting together our initial inaugural class of clients right now. So we're getting a waiting list together that we're going to start filling appointments for here in about a week. So if you're interested, please message me via private message on Facebook, Instagram, Russell, Russell, Tellup, Tellup, Mind, Body, Spirit, LLC. God bless every one of you. Blessings, peace, love. Take care.